Welcome to Sparty Talk, everyone. I am Satchmo, joined by the one, the only, the Thin Man DB. Greetings, DB.
Greetings and salutations, Spartan Nation.
Yes, I am bearded today. Enjoy it while it lasts. It'll be disappearing soon enough.
I sent my beard to Satchmo for Christmas.
Oh, and I appreciate it. Yes, you are looking clean and baby-faced and looking very good.
Thank you,
Uh,
as are you.
Thank you. Much appreciated. All right, we've got a good show planned for you today. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about Michigan State, and we're going to spend a lot of time talking about other stuff. But first, we do have to note the passing of President Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter was president when DB and I were growing up, when we were wee little youngins. And this is a man who represented decency and humanity and humility. And he changed the world using those tools. He did so much stuff for the good of the world, the good of people who are down on their luck, people that didn't have homes, that people that lacked a way to support themselves. Just in general, was a good, honest, decent soul. And, when someone like that passes away, you have to note their passing and say, we wish the world was filled with more people like him and that he will be missed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to imagine living to 100, and he made it. And I heard him speak at a conference about 10 years ago, and I guess he would have been close to 90 or 90 years old, and still had so much energy for someone that age. And yeah, I echo all you said,
Yeah,
Satchmo.
I mean, it was remarkable if you think about it. I mean, first of all, he lived to 100. And second of all, is a man that devoted his life to the service of others. And he did it without asking for anything back, which is really remarkable. And so he will be missed. There are a couple other passings out there that we'll talk about later in the show. Greg Gumbel and Rickey Henderson, well, two completely different individuals. And let's face it, as different as you get than Jimmy Carter. Uh,
True.
and we might even talk a little bit in the third person later in the show, just in honor of Ricky Henderson. Uh, but let's begin with Michigan State sports. This is nominally a Michigan State sports podcast, and so we'll begin where we always do with Michigan State sports. We're going to talk mostly about women's hoops today, but just wanted to note Dwayne Stevens is coming back to town. He's going to be playing, Western Michigan's playing Michigan State Spartans. We're recording on Sunday, so it's going to be on Monday. He's recording. They're going to be playing. It'll be nice to see Dwayne Stevens in town. He's doing what I think is the hardest job in coaching right now, which is coaching at a mid-major in the NIL era. You think it's bad at the Power Five schools. You've got no idea what it's like coaching at a mid-major. I mean, you've got players coming and going. You got people transferring to Power Five programs. You got people transferring down. I mean, you're basically dealing with a new roster every year. And so Dwayne Stevens he's in the middle of the wild, wild west, DB.
True, absolutely right. Yeah, and I don't know how Tom Izzo feels about these matchups. I think on the one hand, I bet he kind of enjoys meeting up with old assistants and former players and things, but then I think there's probably part of him that's like doesn't really like it that much. He's probably 50-50 on it.
Yeah, I think he enjoys helping his assistants out. And I think he enjoys giving them a boost. And I think he enjoys that aspect. He enjoys seeing them again. And he enjoys being a part of their success and wanting to be a part of their success. The actual playing against them, yeah, I don't think he enjoys that one bit.
No,
And so, no.
not at all.
Uh,
Yeah.
Michigan State should win. Hopefully they will win. But we'll see. Uh, but enough about the men. Let's talk about the women. DB, Michigan State played Maryland today in Maryland at the
Yeah,
Big
that's right.
Turtles at the Big Turtle Center. And you were there.
Yes, I am not too far away, and I attended the game in College Park on the Maryland campus, and lovely arena that they have. And I think with the holiday here, the crowd not full, the Spartan contingent maybe not as much as I would have thought, but still boisterous nonetheless. And the
Yeah,
Spartans, once again, trying to do their Houdini act, fall short 72 to 66.
yeah. So we went to a Maryland game, Michigan State Maryland game, a couple years ago,
Yep.
and I'd say that was about 25 to 30% Michigan State fans at that game. What was the composition of the crowd this time?
Oh, I'd say much lower for Michigan State. And again, I don't know the reason for that, but I'd say maybe it was like, 15% Michigan State.
Yeah, I'm
A little
guessing
bit
because it's a
lower.
holiday. You're in the
Yeah.
holiday week. We got New Year's Eve coming up. We got Christmas earlier in the week,
Yeah.
and Hanukkah. By the way, Christmas and Hanukkah falling on the same day for the first time in 30 years, I think.
Yeah.
Uh,
Christmasica.
yeah, there you
Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
Christmasica.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so, but yeah, I have a feeling that was it. Now you got to watch Michigan State's press and pressure defense. I'm just going with it. 40 minutes of hell. That's what Nolan Richardson did. That's what Michigan State is doing. You got to witness that in person. What
Yes.
what was that like for you to see it in person as opposed to watching it on TV?
Well, my first thought with the defense is I believe I used the word relentless with you, especially in the second half.
Yeah.
I think there were some missed plays in the first half, maybe some, I want to say rustiness from the holiday, perhaps. I think a lot of teams are going to experience that. I think the Spartans, offensively and defensively in the first half, maybe were not up to par, but in the second half, Maryland had to fight for every basket they had. There was no unearned shot that Maryland had, and if they had to make a three because of Michigan State's defense, they were just in Maryland's face from the tip of the second half to the end.
Yeah.
It kept them in the game, Satchmo, but there's two sides to that, and the other side is in the first half offensively. Too many tentative missed shots that just weren't going into the basket. They were trying to do something to go in around the rim rather than live at the 3-point line. And Maryland has a tall team, but I just feel like if Michigan State had made at least 50% of those missed shots, and I didn't count, but there was a lot of missed ones in the
Were,
first
were, were
half.
they at least open shots?
Not always, but sometimes they were in man-to-man coverage, woman-to-woman coverage, and the shots were just kind of like they were floating up there and they were hitting the rim or just kind of coming short or going off the side of the backboard. And I feel like if they had made some more of those, we're talking right now about an MSU victory.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that is going to come down to Michigan State is still a team building its depth, building out its roster, building out its skill level. I, it's a team on the rise. I think this is a style of play that works. I like this being the identity of Michigan State basketball. Now they just need to bring in some knockdown shooters, get and get that aspect of the game because when you combine that frenetic play with sharp shooting because you're going to get open looks when you have that frenetic pace of play. So you need a couple things. You need a guard that can control the game. And I feel like Michigan State has the guards that can control the game. Uh,
Yes.
then you need to be able to rebound because there's no point in doing all of that work and not securing the rebound. And I think Michigan State still has a little ways to go on the rebounding size. It feels like they need a little more size in rebounding. And then you need some sharp shooting. And I feel like on the nights that Michigan State has sharp shooting, they're going to be tough to beat where they're knocking those shots down because they've got the guards, they've got the energy, they've got the defense, they've got the intensity. And now it's about, all right, where do you go for size to get into rebounding? And then where do you get that the sharp shooting that really spreads the floor and spaces things out nicely? And I think the shooting's going to come and go, especially on the road. But the size is something I think they have to keep working on.
That's right, Satchmo, exactly. And there were points in the game when the offensive rebounding and the defensive rebounding much better in the second half. In the first half, they missed some rebounds.
Yeah.
They were a little off, and I feel like Maryland really took advantage of it as the first quarter was going on. It was pretty even at first, and then there was a point maybe where Maryland was ahead by almost 15, 16 points. And so give the Spartans full credit for, A, for the effort and A, for the comeback. But that's kind of a trend that's a little bothersome about the MSU women's team this year is they can't be living in comeback land. This was, if I'm not mistaken, probably the best team they've played all year, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's the best team they've played all year. I'm sure it'll always be the best team that they play. Maryland is always
Probably.
good,
Yeah.
and Maryland went heavy into the transfer portal this year to build up their team. They were not happy with the results that they had last year. They weren't happy with the way it all played out. And so they went heavy into the transfer portal, and as a result, you've got a sort of a new look Maryland team, a way to rebuild. But Maryland's trying to get back to their standards, and Michigan State, quite frankly, is trying to reach Maryland standards.
Right, yeah. And again, the height of Maryland, the point guard they had, number one, she's the only player that was small. Everybody, all the forwards, everyone, tall, very, very tall. And it seemed like most of their starters played. I don't know what their bench depth is like, but I don't think it's deep. Um, but the difference maker too is also Cheyenne Sellers. I mean, we
Yeah,
had heard about her before, almost coming to Michigan State when Susie Merchant was there, and she's just fantastic. Definitely a WNBA player, bar none. She's just very confident, and you cannot, for 1 second, turn your back or lose track of her on the floor. And sometimes MSU did, and it's not just her ability to score. It's her ability to find an open pass, an open player. She does it all. Having said that, though, Michigan State really, really poured it on in the second half offensively, even though they didn't make all their shots. There were several possessions where there was a foul or there was a turnover or a bad pass where they didn't score. And all those things add up in a close
yeah,
game. But
but
still, they were running some good plays. It just
yeah,
wasn't translating
yeah.
all the
Well,
way.
and the fact they were able to rush and hurry and get Maryland into an uncomfortable place, that speaks good things for what Michigan State's doing. Two players that caught your attention.
Yep, Julia Aro, she had a double double, and we had Taryn Halleck. So she was a little quiet in the first half, but then in the second half, offensively, the ball was coming to her at the 3-point line a lot, and those shots were going in. And she moves around that court. She's fast, and Maryland couldn't keep track of her. The thing I love about Michigan State's women's team is the hands are up everywhere. They're trying to intercept passes. It's very reminiscent of what you see a lot from Tom Izzo's teams. They are constantly moving. They do not stand still. And they were getting so many opportunities
Yeah.
because of the defensive rebounds. And there was several plays where Maryland in the second half, particularly as the clock was winding down that last 10 minutes, where the MSU women were forcing Maryland into these situations where they couldn't move, and there were several shot clock violations. And Maryland women were tied up with the ball; they couldn't move, and it was like, eh. Um, can I comment on the officiating, or do we
Go for
just
it.
is that? Oh gosh, all right. So in regards to Maryland, it seemed to be the one call that the Big Ten officials, so here's my impression, and you can tell me. When both groups of fans are getting angry at the officials, I think that probably means they're really bad.
Yes, I agree. Yeah,
Both,
announcers have this stupid theory that when both sets of fans are angry, that the officiating is good. Uh. No, no, no. When both sets of fans are angry, that means the officiating is really bad.
I mean, I always try to be fair with calls. There were fouls that they should have called on Michigan State that they didn't, and for some reason they kept calling Maryland for traveling. I'm not really sure exactly if they were or not. It was hard to tell. There was a few instances, yes. There was a few instances where the Spartans did it, and I didn't see the call. So it feels like did the officials meet in the room beforehand and said, "We're going to call a lot of traveling today on Maryland." And then as far as Michigan State, the bodies were flying all over the floor. Michigan State was getting plowed over, sometimes getting held onto in the
Yeah.
paint in the first half. People were on Maryland were doing the do-si-do with them, and I didn't hear a whistle or a call. Instead, it would be some ticky-tack thing the other way. And I'm not going to sit here and blame the officials. And I know Robin Fralick wouldn't sit here and blame the officials, but she certainly was in their ear, and
Oh,
you could see the assistants get up at a few points and just throw towels on the chairs because it was just maddening. And even the Maryland fans were like, "What?" I mean, it was just like
yeah.
out of
So
control.
officiating throughout women's basketball is just terrible. It doesn't matter whether it's the NBA, college, whatever. It's just awful. And it's like you want to know what the women's game and the product has grown so quickly and it's really fantastic. The officiating needs to get better. It
Oh
needs to catch
gosh.
up because
Yeah.
it is bad.
Yeah, this crew today, I don't know who they were. I hope I don't see them again this year because I might send them hate mail, Satchmo. I mean, it was I for 2 seconds wanted to rush the court and go.
That's how you channel the spirit of Jimmy Carter, DB.
Protest, baby, protest. I'm running out there and I'm gonna get those zebras. I mean, it was just look, I know they got a hard job. Things are going fast, but make the files really count. Like, this ticky tack, whatever, like one woman on Maryland, for example, got pulverized by one of the Spartans. There was no call there. There could have been, but instead they got a hand slapping another hand. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. I
Also, also too, the kickball rule. I don't know if players need to be just more aware, but like you see that once in a while, and it's
yeah.
too easy. I wonder if the players that are defending that, before get out of the way, get down and crouch, get ready to like you're getting a ground ball, get ready to either intercept it or just move out of the way because if she throws the ball at you, the ball's just gonna, take off. They're not gonna get that call. I
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
it's better to deflect it with the foot and then let the ball go where it's supposed to.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
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 I don't really like the rule. I also don't like they do this in every level, men's, women's. When you fall on your butt and you're moving around and that's traveling, how, how are you traveling? I know it's Testudo the turtle can travel, when he's down on his butt
Now
falling around.
that's Testudo's prime mode of transportation right there. The old butt slide, the
I don't
double
know
cheek
about that one.
shuffle.
I got to tell you, I don't know. They need to really take a look at that one, especially. I don't see how, maybe that's a jump ball. I don't know.
Okay.
I just yeah.
All right. Well, look, tough game for the Michigan State women. They will have better days.
Hopefully
I,
so.
yeah, hopefully so. The Big Ten is going to be interesting. I just like the fact that their game travels, that the
Yep.
energy, the defense travels, and a lot of it's going to come down to shooting and rebounding.
Yeah.
And some days you're going to have it, and some days you're not.
Yeah. But I really, MSU women and Coach Freilich, I want to see that full 40 minutes,
Yes.
It's in them. I think they can do it. They've had two losses in a row now. They lost to Alabama in that holiday tournament before Christmas, and again, tough game. But these games certainly will help MSU. But I think they need to start putting together the full game now because you're going to get deep into the conference season, and you can't afford to just like take a half off.
Yep. Completely agree.
Yeah.
All right. Let's shift. One more Michigan State sports note. Do you have a GLI update?
I am going to have one for you in just a moment. It was 2-0 Michigan State over Northern Michigan in the first round of the GLI, which is being played at the Van Andel Arena in Grand Rapids. They've moved it there. Michigan Tech is still the host of this long time tournament, and we are in the second period with the Spartans still having a 2-0 lead. And one other hockey note, Trey Augustine is not with the team because he's on the U.S. junior team
As
playing
as well
in
he
that
should
tournament.
be, as
As
the
well, he
best
should be
goalie in the country.
as the best goalie in the country. Yes, the
Yes,
Spartans,
and
I believe, are ranked number one again after the Minnesota series.
you gotta love it. Look, this is a
Hmm.
good Spartan hockey team.
Yep.
And this reminds me of the end of the Ron Mason era, where you had that
Hmm.
great goalie, good special teams play,
Hmm.
and then it's just strong, solid skating up and down the lineup. That's
Yep.
exactly what this Michigan State team
Had
has.
Ryan Miller there at the end of the
Yep.
Ron era, and yeah, so it's a combination that you often see win NCAA titles. So that's the goal here, and so I'm
Where
looking
is the
forward to the
Frozen
second
Four
half.
this year?
Good question. I'd have to go look that up, but I know, interestingly, while I'm doing that, that coming up this weekend, there's going to be, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of Spartans there, the Friendly Confines Wrigley Field outdoor games. There's two other games, I believe, on Friday evening, and then the Spartans play at 8 p.m. Chicago time on Saturday evening against Wisconsin in the Frozen Confines game coming up this coming weekend.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I used to love these stadium games.
Yeah.
Doesn't do it for me anymore. I, it, I
2025 Frozen Four, St. Louis again. Last time the Spartans won the championship was in St. Louis.
oh, we might have to do a road trip. If Michigan State makes the Frozen Four, I'm smelling a St. Louis road trip. I haven't seen the Arch before. I think we need to go see the Arch.
You're right. You're right on point.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
But
all
you were about
right.
to say the outdoor games are no
Yeah,
longer,
yeah.
yeah,
These do not fascinate me by any stretch of the
yeah.
imagination.
They're losing their luster. In fact, the NHL used to be doing the New Year's Day game outdoors, and I don't see it this year on the schedule unless I miss something.
Yeah, I honestly I have no idea, and I don't care at this point. I mean,
Yeah.
w wake me up when you're playing by Mount Rushmore or
Right.
something interesting.
Right. You can set up these rinks anywhere. You're right on point. I think the St. Louis Arch as the place to set up the game or the
Yep.
Washington Monument or whatever on the mall like that.
Oh, that would be a great game. Red Wings Capitals
Yes.
on the mall.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
Yes. Now we're talking. Now that is a cool idea. Or, a pond in the woods. I mean, I don't know, but like, make a regulation rink out there. I mean, you know, or something historic, like baseball did do a really cool regular season game this year in Alabama with the Giants and the Cardinals. I believe it's the first site of maybe one of the Negro League teams
Yep.
in Birmingham.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. Stuff like that can be neat. But yeah, you're right. Just playing in Fenway Park or whatever now, it's kind of lost its luster. Yeah.
Yeah. It's I mean, go out into the Yukon, play where the gold rush was. I don't know, just something.
Greenland
Yeah, go to Greenland.
before it gets sold.
Oh my goodness. Yes, we just got to do something. All right.
Yep.
Speaking of doing something, the Red Wings did something.
What have
The,
they been doing, Satchmo?
the
Let's
Red
hear your
Wings
take.
the Red Wings fired Derek Lalonde. The day after Christmas, by the way. And how's that
Um,
go? Steve Eisman calls up Derek Lalonde. Merry Christmas, Derek. You're fired.
and he had Tom McClellan in the bank right away. Like
Oh, not
the
not only
black
do you
book
have him
was
in the
open.
bank, multi-year contract, DB. You don't just wake up one morning and say, "Hey Todd, you want to come coach the Red Wings? We're going to fire Derek Lalonde. Just sign this multi-year contract." That's not the way this works.
They could have even like faked it for a few days and made the interim guy coach or whatever, the assistant, and then They didn't even bother, right?
No,
It just
they
was
didn't
like,
even bother. They said, "Yeah, we've been negotiating with McClellan for about a month. Here's the multi-year contract. Derek, nice knowing you. Merry Christmas."
yeah, they were yelling "Fire Derek" after the 4-0 shutout at the hands of the Blues last week at the Pizza
Okay.
Box.
To be fair, the Red Wings are terrible.
Yes.
Okay. Just objectively terrible.
Roster construction.
But now we're getting to the heart of it.
Yes.
This is a terrible roster.
Yes. Yes. You take away Dylan Larkin, and what do you got? It's a
Yeah,
mess. It's a
Lucas
mess.
Raymond is good.
Lucas Raymond. Okay.
And then you've got Sider and Edvinson.
Lots of potential.
That's it.
That's it.
You got four players.
And I was disturbed. This is what really got to me when I saw this kid that they traded to San Jose, who's really doing well to San Jose, or they let him go. I don't know what if they traded him or if it was a free agent thing. I thought they traded him, but
Oh,
I
they
could be
trade. Is it?
wrong.
Or you talk about Wallman, the defenseman?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And I'm just like, what are we doing here? You're getting rid of players like that for Gustafson and Ben Sherrod, and those players are plug-in guys for a stretch run for a team that's ready to go all the way to the Stanley Cup.
Oh, this team's not ready to go all the way to the Stanley
No,
Cup.
it can't even make the playoffs.
No, this team is ready to go to AAA. That's what they're ready to do. It's
Be
look,
playing at Van Andel
yeah,
Arena in the
I'm not
PLL.
sure what the Iser plan is, but let me tell you what the Iser plan has turned up. No talent, right? It's
Mm,
his draft. Look, his drafting philosophy is you get good, solid two-way players. That's great. How about
yeah,
getting a solid two-way player with a high ceiling? None of this high floor, low ceiling nonsense moving forward. You
yeah,
you got to get some talent in some young talent in the building. Now, I think Simon Edvinson's really good.
right.
I think he's going to be good. I think Moritz Seider is really good, and I think he's going to do well. But you want to know what? Let's not pretend that the window for the Detroit Red Wings to win is Dylan Larkin's career anymore. No, Dylan Larkin's going to
Wow.
be like he's going to be the aging vet by the time the Red Wings are ready to win at this point. So
Yeah,
let's not even try to win under Dylan Larkin, right? You either
yeah,
trade him and send him to a place where he can win, or acknowledge that we are really far away.
yeah,
And like Patrick Kane and Tarasenko and all of these guys are not the pieces that are going to win a Stanley Cup. They're not even the pieces that are going to get you to the
no,
playoffs. So let's start by maybe playing all the young talent that's in Grand Rapids and Detroit, and accelerating their learning curve. None of this like over ripening and seasoning and whatever bad metaphor you want to use for growing to play. You know, let them take their lumps in the NHL and let's fast forward this progress. Let's see whether they're any good or not, and then go from there. And do they need a little bit of seasoning before coming in? Yes. Do they need 25 years of seasoning before coming up? No, not really.
no. And this seems like leftover stuff from the Ken Holland era, Satchmo. This is the kind of stuff. It's like this lack of trust in putting young players out there. And I think I said this to you offline, but where's the scouting? Like I just want to mention here the Wings opponent tonight, who they beat. Okay, fine. Washington Capitals. Um, are finding these players that are young players. They got good scouting. The Capitals are not, as an organization, far and above or that much superior to the Red Wings. And it astounds me. I don't understand. Has the budget been cut on the scouts? Do they not have them? What are they looking at? I mean, the Caps aren't getting top five lottery ball picks, but they're coming up with these players.
Yeah, you got me.
I'm confused. And
Uh,
I,
it, this is an organizational and systemic problem for the past how many years? And you can't blame this on low draft picks anymore, right? You just can't do that. You cannot do that. Yes. Did we get bad ping pong ball luck? Yes, of course, right? Should we have gotten a top one, two, or three pick in all of this time? Yes, we should have. Granted, but still, this is bad. There
Yes.
is not enough talent to compete at the highest levels of the NHL. And we're in year 9, 10, 8, 7, whatever the year of the Iser plan is.
I don't think we're at 10, but we're getting there.
We're
I think we're
getting there.
maybe 7 or 8. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not there.
No,
It's
no.
not there. I mean, we were a borderline playoff team last year. We're not going to the playoffs again this year. And looking around, where are the players? Who's the young talent coming in? Who's the young talent coming up? And when do they start playing? Because until they do, this team's going nowhere.
Yep. And so what we've been saying, I think this is a broken record. The last 5 years at least, they have to go all the way to suck. They have to go all the way to Suckville to get the shot at those draft picks
Well, they've been
like
in
Chicago
Suckville,
is doing.
except for 1 year.
Well, right.
I mean, they just need to descend further into Suckville. I mean, they need to say, I mean, look, and granted, the ping pong balls didn't go their way when they were sucking really badly, and that sucked. But now you can't, you've got enough locker room guys, you've got enough good team guys, you've got enough good checkers and forwards and grinding guys. Now you need elite talent. All right. And you got to do what you have to get that elite talent in. And look, Alex DeBrincat is good,
Yeah.
not great. Dylan
No,
Larkin, good, not great.
no.
Lucas Raymond, really good, could be great, but not great yet.
Not enough around him.
No.
No. Same with
Edmonton
Edmondson and Cider.
have the potential to be great, and
Hmm.
they probably, I mean, they could be. And
Yes.
that's something you can build around, right? If you told me that, hey, Edmonton and Cider are young, they are superstars, and we are going to build the team around them. That is a plan I can get behind
Right.
because you build around greatness. What I
Right.
can't get behind is trying to maximize the Dylan Larkin era
Right.
because on Stanley Cup contenders, let's just be real, folks. On Stanley Cup contenders, Dylan Larkin would be a second liner
At most.
at most.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't want to dismiss him. I
No,
know he
he's
went to
good.
Michigan. He's great, very good player. But I think it was a huge mistake to sign him to that contract as if you think that you're one player away
Yep,
from I don't know
agreed.
whose dream this is, but look, the captain is a legend in Detroit sports. There's no doubt about that. But so far, he's batting zero
Yep.
as a GM. He this is on him now. Like you can go ahead and change the coach, you can get rid of a few players, but this is his baby right now, and it's not grown up very well.
Yeah, this is a freaking mess, is what it is.
Yeah, yeah. And we bring this up on this podcast because we've talked about the Red Wings before, and we're both very passionate Red Wings fans and have been our entire lives. And it's just really hard to watch this.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a
Yes.
the product on the ice is a disgrace. So, if Todd McClellan's going to fix that, God bless him. Go ahead and fix it. But
Yeah.
right now, the strategic vision of this is a mess.
Yeah,
Just
I don't even there's what is the strategy? I don't know.
look, I pulled the veil behind the curtain. I texted DB a picture of a guy throwing darts. That's what seems to be the strategic
It's
vision of all
very
this.
sad and true. At least, you could look. I started to mention Chicago a little while ago. They drafted Connor Bedard. They're still struggling, but there is some semblance of a plan of something that they're doing there. It's going to take them a little while to get through it. But when you go back and look at like the Capitals from 2005 or the Penguins when they first drafted Ovi and Crosby, respectively, they did struggle a little bit at first, and then you started to see the roots of what they were doing. And we don't have those roots with the Red Wings. We've got some potential things, but it boggles the mind.
Yep, 100% agree.
Yeah.
All right. couple other things that we want to touch on, and then we'll get out of here. I know you wanted to talk about the NBA DB and the style of play. Are you in an NBA mood these days? You watching, not watching? What are you thinking?
I'm not paying attention as much, not because I hate the NBA. I'll catch some highlights from time to time. But I think with me, there's so many other things, I like college sports more, so I'm looking
Yep.
at Spartan basketball, men's and women's, Spartan hockey. So it's NHL, so it's registering a little bit lower. And what I'm reading, and it's fair, but it's unfair to the league, is so you have aging stars like Curry, believe it or not, he's getting older, and LeBron, of course, is maybe on the way out. And but then, so people are talking about, okay, there's those players, there's the Boston Celtics players who are good, and then you have what I think is probably like, more of this international flavor coming along where you have Doncic and Jokic and Wembanyama
Hmm.
from San Antonio,
Big
who's going to
Vic.
be lights out,
Yeah,
when
he's
he's
awesome.
finally,
I love watching Big Vic play.
yes, yes. And so part of a critique that I read recently in the Washington Post about this, some of it made sense in terms of, the NBA's ratings are down and they have to doing all these things like the in-season cup, which I don't understand.
So the in-season cup doesn't bother me. The
Yeah.
soccer does this all the time, right? Is so you play for all these different cups in the middle of the season. It's the way to make the regular season more meaningful. And I actually kind of like it. The floors are a different color. It's cool. The players, if they win the tournament, each player gets another 500,000. Man, they play hard.
Yeah.
500, that's what they like to call real cash. And I don't care how much money you make. I don't care if you make $10 million. $500,000 is still a lot of money.
Yes. Well, that's
And
true.
so
There's incentive for them to do
it
it.
is, and they play hard and it works. So that doesn't bother me. I'll tell you, look, the reason the ratings are down is the reason the ratings are down for everything. The media landscape is changing and
Right.
customer behavior is changing. You got
Right.
people cutting the cord, the cable bundle is disappearing, people don't have cable TV anymore, people don't have subscriptions anymore. And then more and more people don't like watching the entire game. They like watching highlights of the game. They like watching the 30-minute version of the game or the 5-minute highlight package or the 10-minute version of the game or the TikTok or the reels are
Right.
highlight of that and talking about that. And so they're consuming the game in a different way. And look, this
Right.
is a problem that baseball's facing, right? Baseball,
Yeah.
the regional sports networks are dying. They're dying for a reason. It's the
Yeah.
same reason why basketball ratings are struggling. So I'm not necessarily look there. The reason NBA ratings are struggling is complicated.
Yes.
It, it's not just one thing or the other. It's a lot of different things are happening. And because a lot of different things are happening, it's really easy to get fixated on one thing or the other and say, well, no, this is complicated and the solution is complicated. The NBA really does have to figure out how to market its new stars, right? Yeah, LeBron and Steph are going to do a great number on Christmas Day, and the NBA ratings on Christmas Day were bonkers. They were incredibly high.
Yes.
Even
Right.
even with the NFL pulling down massive numbers, the NBA did incredibly well on Christmas Day. But who's your next gen? And how do you market them and feature them in a way that people care more about it? And you want to know what? People love watching Jokic, right? It's not a foreign thing. And people look at them play as like, oh man, he's amazing.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And Wembanyama's phenomenal to watch. And you want to know what? That team from Oklahoma City is great to watch.
Yes.
And so the NBA, frankly, has to do a better job with its TV partners from a scheduling standpoint and making sure that their best teams are in the best TV windows and have the best sort of thing. Like I was watching the Minnesota Green Bay game today, and this was the first time the Fox A team, uh, Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady called a Minnesota game. That's just ridiculous. Minnesota is now 14-2, and this is the first time you're doing a Vikings game.
Wow. Yeah.
All
That's pretty
right.
crazy.
And
Yep.
you got Brady explaining, well, sometimes, the national conversation comes late and you got to earn your way there and all that. No, 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 no. Give me a break. We did not need to see 75 Dallas Cowboy games this year. You could have done one Minnesota game instead.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
All
Yep.
right. And,
Yeah.
the Lions are finally, getting on TV and that sort of stuff. But it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's your fault that we don't know much about this Vikings team. Now, you and I know because we watch football. We care about
Yes.
the NFC North and all of this sort of stuff. But this has got to end, everyone. I mean,
Yes.
it really is ridiculous. And so, from a programming standpoint, you got to do a better job of building up these teams. So when you get to the playoffs, when you get to the postseason, you don't have an audience going, huh, who are these teams? Why can't I just watch the Eagles and the Cowboys?
Right. Exactly. Yep. And truth be known, so we're early still in the NBA season, and they get a good pull on Christmas Day. And, when more is at stake, when the college basketball season ends in April, then the eyeballs will start tuning over to these playoff games because just like with the NHL, the intensity ratchets up about, 100%. And so it'll be there, but yeah, they have to do a better job of just trying to market it and just live in the idea that people don't just sit and watch these games all the
Yes.
time. I mean, if it's not Michigan State or I'm not invested or whatever, I'm not going to sit and just watch a random game from beginning to end all the time if it doesn't involve anybody I care about.
Yep, that's just sort of the
Yeah.
way it is. I mean, look, I still watch football games on occasion,
Hmm.
especially during the holidays when I have a little more time to do it.
Right.
Uh, and, I try to carve out time for football Sunday. But let me tell you what, I'm not watching Michigan play Rutgers. I'm not watching Ohio State play, play well, Washington's a bad example, but I'm not watching Ohio State play Wisconsin. I'm not carving out time. Now, if I happen to be free when the game is going on, I might turn it out, but
Right.
that's not appointment viewing for me.
Right. Well, we can check this now and we can, say, "Oh, that game is close and there's 2 minutes left. Okay, I'm going to turn it on now and see
Oh,
what's
oh
going
yeah.
on."
Or, hey, Ohio State and Washington in our tie game in the third quarter. Let me crank this up and see.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you have those things going on and you know, uh I don't know the ratings. Were the ratings pretty good for the CFP, the first round on the
Yeah, they
home
were pretty
sites?
good. Yeah.
What did you think about just general thoughts about it?
Ugh. Everyone needs to shut up. Okay.
Yes.
No, 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 everyone needs to shut up and stop whining and complaining. All
Yep.
right. Kirk Herbstreit, I don't want to hear it from you.
Right.
Just shut up.
Right.
Yeah. You
Right.
want to know what? Alabama, they lost to Oklahoma. Do you see how bad that Oklahoma team is? Alabama, if you want to be in the playoffs, beat Oklahoma.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
The regular
Bottom line.
season
Second of
has to
all,
matter.
yeah. Second of all, the home teams won. And everyone's like, "Oh, we can't have games in the stadiums." No, the games in the stadium is what make things cool. You think people are like, "Oh, the home teams won in the NFL wild card. We got to move these to neutral sites." Come on, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
The better teams won each time. You want to know what?
Yeah.
That's what usually happens. You want to know what happens in the NBA playoffs in the first round? The
The
higher
better
seed
teams.
wins, or they
Yes.
win in a sweep, or they win in
Yeah.
something else. They
Right.
always win, and it's never close. You
Right.
don't
And
hear.
this bashing of Indiana, I think I take Indiana's side on that. I
Oh
actually
yeah,
feel that because that happened to Michigan State before in the CFP in its early days when the
yeah.
Spartans lost to Alabama and you had that moron Herb Street who I just cannot stand anymore, who got on there and I'll never forget this. I'll never let him forget it. If I ever met the guy, I would just tell him to his face. Why are you bringing up Michigan State's got a branding problem? What are they going to do after this? But you weren't saying it about anybody else that
No,
lost.
no.
And so I didn't know what that was about. But these announcers sometimes get to this
And
place where it's got
they
to
didn't even
always
put
be
the best
SEC.
Michigan State team in the playoff, right? The best Michigan State team is the one that won
Right,
the Rose Bowl.
right.
That's the one that should have been in the
That
playoffs.
should have been, yes. And I
Eh,
wouldn't take back that experience that we had to go see that because it was the last time it was going to
If
be
if
that type of a
if
Rose
that
Bowl.
was a 12 team playoff, Michigan State wins the national championship.
Absolutely. With that defense that they had. Yep.
That defense and just enough offense.
Yep.
That was it.
Hmm. Yep. And even the teams around that, the one with where they beat Georgia New Year's
Yep.
Day, that with Kirk Cousins before he graduated, and then after that wild game with Baylor, that
Yes.
offense with Connor Cook, that could have been like, they could have stood right in there with anybody. But
Yeah.
you're right, that's not what happened.
And that game was actually a game for a half.
Hmm.
And then we got some injuries and some other stuff happened, and there were some extenuating circumstances. I don't want to relitigate it. Kirk Herbstreit, just shut your mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there should be a rule, both in pro sports and college, that if you have too much of an association with the team playing, you should not be calling the game. You
Yeah.
should not be a play-by-play or commentator. So Kirk Herbstreit should have no business on any Ohio State game for the rest of
Yeah.
the
Well,
season.
it's the same thing. Like everyone wanted Miami in the playoffs. They went out and lost their bowl game. It's like, oh, come on. What are you doing, people?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
And the Indiana bashing, oh, they shouldn't have been there. And oh, you know what? It's like the regular season mattered and
yeah.
there wasn't any other good
Don't
team. We have 12 teams now.
don't lose to Oklahoma and don't lose to Vanderbilt. You want to know what Indiana wouldn't have done? They wouldn't have lost to Oklahoma and they wouldn't have lost to Vanderbilt.
Nope. That's right. That's right. Yep. Yep.
Just
Yep.
saying.
Yep. And the arrogance of the SEC, and I'm pretty sure the Alabama coach and the doofus at Ole Miss both thought that, Kiffin both thought that, oh, we'll get in anyways because we're the SEC.
Well, now you got ESPN carrying SEC water, right? Which is, they're the home of the SEC. They talk SEC football. SEC is the conference they know best. And of course, they're going to say all these things.
Yeah.
Just
Yep.
win. Just win, baby. Al Davis
Yep.
is right. Just win, baby.
That's right. Very
It's
frustrating.
very, very frustrating. All right. So we've got that. Rickey Henderson passed away.
Rickey Henderson was so amazing. He was built like a football player. He
Yes.
had an opportunity to play football early in his career. He admitted that, interestingly, you hear these anecdotes about players. You know that he was a good hitter, a good stolen base leader. Broke what Lou Brock's record,
Yeah.
and there's so many of them. Most leadoff home runs in a
The
career.
greatest leadoff hitter of all time.
Yeah, he and so many teams. Did he play for the Mets?
I think he might have.
Yeah, but he won titles with the A's in Toronto.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, the interesting thing about him was his admission that he just wasn't very good in the outfield, and that almost cost him having a career. And so he had to really learn how to play it better in order to be able to make a big league team. The other funny thing is, he when he got a bonus from the A's when he first got into baseball for $1 million. And he was so excited about it, he framed it. And apparently the A's called him on the phone like a few weeks later and they're like, "Did you get the check? Did you cash it?" And he's like, "No, it's hanging on my wall." And they're like, "Would you please go cash the check? You can
That
get another one and frame it on the wall. We'll help you with it, but you got to cash that.
that's
It's a
funny.
live check."
Such a Ricky thing. My favorite thing is Ricky Henderson just talked about himself in the third person. So if you ask Ricky a question and he would be like, "So Ricky, what's your favorite pizza?" You're like, "Ricky Henderson like pepperoni pizza." And so I just love that about him. But what I also loved about him was he played the game of baseball without fear. He went up there, he went up to the plate, he expected to hit a home run or get on base. Those were the two choices. And he would die trying. And when he got on base, he expected to score. And he
Mhm.
was either going to score because you knocked a run in or he was going to steal home. But either way, his goal was to
Yeah,
score.
yeah, yeah. You couldn't take your eye off him on the base path, and even if you didn't take your eye off him, he'd still be to second
Yeah.
base or third base. He just played the game extremely hard, and you just don't see that all
No,
the time. It's just a once in a generation player, and yeah, he'll be missed. I'm glad he made it to the Hall of Fame,
no,
before he
he was
passed away.
magnetic.
Very deserving, yeah.
Very deserving. All right, Greg Gumbel.
Yeah, so Greg Gumbel was one of those calm, like easy to listen to announcers, and I always appreciated him. I'm not a huge fan of his brother, Bryant Gumbel, who's
Yeah.
gotten out of regular broadcasting, but I always enjoyed Greg Gumbel. There was no like he wasn't one of those announcers that went after the officials or anything. He sort of let, the other person in the booth with him do it. It was just always just very just professional guy. Really
Yeah.
just it's too bad that he passed away.
What I liked about Greg Gumbel more than anything else, he was a pro. It didn't matter whether he was sitting in a studio or whether he was calling a game. It didn't matter whether he was working remotely or working on site. His level of performance was 100% every single time. You had no idea what adversity he was going through. You had no idea what the circumstances were, nothing like that. He was a pro's pro, and it was always a professional broadcast.
Yeah, I didn't know when I read about his him in the obituary, he didn't make it into broadcasting right away. Bryant Gumbel, his brother, helped him get a job in Chicago, but he was just resigned to selling medical supplies early in his career. He wasn't even going to do it, and I'm glad he did it. We
Yeah.
had a nice long time of him being on the NFL Today set, and yeah, it's really kind of sad and hard to see some of these people leaving us who we take it for granted
Yeah.
sometimes when they play or they call games.
It is. And it's not
Yeah.
easy to switch back and forth between the booth doing play-by-play and then studio. And he went seamlessly into both in multiple sports.
Yep. And he was real steady with the college basketball tournament and
Yeah.
yeah, it's just yeah, he
No,
will be missed. One of the
he
good
will be missed. End of
announcers.
an era.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And then on a lighter note, you watched a Saturday Night Live movie recently.
Yes, I did. So if you're not familiar with this, it's called Saturday Night, and I think you can find it on Amazon. I don't think it's in the theater anymore. So basically, long story short, it's done in real time, and it's set 90 minutes before the very first Saturday Night Live, which was not called Saturday Night Live in the first 2 years of the show. It was called NBC's Saturday Night because sports thing. Do you know? I'll ask you, Satchmo. Do you know why that was? It's a
N
trivia question.
no, I don't.
The name Saturday Night Live was taken by Howard Cosell, who had a variety show on ABC that he got onto the air just about before the SNL that we know went on the air, and it flopped. It was just not very good, but he tried, and it failed. And so the first Saturday night show is chaotic and anxiety provoking and funny and also distorts the facts a bit about a lot of stuff. But it's definitely worth watching. There's a lot of reality in it in terms of like that original cast. If you're not familiar, just go watch the YouTube clips. But like people, names that you know, like Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi, a couple of funny facts. John Belushi did not sign his contract to be on the show until 30 seconds before he had to be out on the opening skit.
Oh,
He did not
geez.
want to do TV. He was just very upset and cranky about it. What is this? I'm a theater guy. I do improv comedy. What I don't understand. And a bigwig agent walked by him and he looked at the guy and he seemed to trust him and he said he showed him the contract. He said, "What is this? Should I sign it?" And the guy lied to him and he said, "Yeah, sign it. I wrote it." And he goes, "Will you manage me?" And he goes, "Yeah, I will. You got to sign it, kid, before you go out there." And he goes, "All right, okay, all right, I trust you." And then you see this sort of moment of fear and panic. It's all done sort of from the perspective of Lauren Michaels, who
Yeah.
started the show. And you see him sort of sitting there as that first skit is about to happen, and there's one guy on stage, and Belushi's supposed to come through the door. And it's not happening for a good 30 seconds. And then all of a sudden he comes through, and everyone is just like, okay, because in the background, the NBC executives have a rerun of Johnny Carson ready to go. They're rolling it, and they're sort of threatening Lorne Michaels. They're pretty much telling him this is bad. You're not going to be able to do it. And we're going to go cut to this when we know you're going to fail. So he's like getting PTSD looking at this rerun of Johnny Carson playing behind him that they'll switch to at any moment. And they never had to. They got the show off. Pretty wild and kind of funny. And you see some things that are stretched and some things that are did actually happen before that show. And it's just a fun movie if you want 90 minutes of an escape.
All right. I think that's a good place to end this show on. I'm looking forward to watching that. I'm going to check it out. All right.
Yep.
That's it for this edition of Sparty Talk. Thanks so much for joining. We will see you soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.